Okay, Josh.
Oh, there I am. That's really weird to sit. It's distracting to sit here and look at myself live. No, no help in this one. Okay. Feedback forms. No, it's basically it's the same thing on the dot. What this is this is for feedback.
Yeah,
so that we can try to continue to become better and grow. Once they feedback down going. Oh, I must have been the first. Yeah, I think I must have something good. I bet I shuffled them up. Here. Oh, I bet I shuffled them up.
So.
Oh yeah.
We'll be up here.
Yeah, I've been even missing some stuff. No. Yeah, I understand. I get it.
My oldest son is
Very good. Very good.
my brother.
It might be my taking my goal
Like what else
because, what activities are you doing? If they're on.
Oh, really? 16.
I have.
Oh, really? Yeah. Scramblers, they gotta get it done for their
Feedback form, we'll talk about that. Uno momento, close for all.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your driver's license and stuff? Well, when they're preoccupied. When they send an email out, so.
I really thought I did. I'm ready. Okay, I know we're running a couple minutes late. Let's go ahead and, if everybody would please rise. In remembrance of the 73rd anniversary of the December 7th, 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor, the men and women who died valiantly protecting our freedom, to those who survived to fight on, to all veterans and members of our armed forces that continue to this day to protect our nation, our right to freely gather and express our thoughts, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Scott, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing and join me in the attitude of prayer. Dear God, not everything that happens in your world reflects your goodness and grace. You have given us the freedom to choose, and with that freedom, sometimes we choose to do evil. Today we remember a time of great evil in our world. We remember World War II. We also remember those who stood their ground against great evil. Those who fought here at home and on the battlefield front to ensure that all evil would not prevail. We thank you that in the hour of need you gave men and women the strength and resolve to stand whatever the cost. May those brave souls who still remain here with us today feel today your hand of favor and strength. In their last years here on earth, give them renewed hope and awareness of our gratitude for their bravery and sacrifice. May we never forget them. May you honor them according to the grace you gave in those days and according to their response to that grace then and now. As we gather tonight, help us to remember our mission is to inspire the youth in our units, to help them find their own way and courage to stand up for what is right and true, and to find within their hearts and minds what it means to be a citizen of this great nation and of the broader world. In your name we pray. Amen. Please be seated. Okay. Historical question of the month. Now, this month, I've got a 1960 Cub Scout Magic Handbook. See if somebody can get the answer. Does anybody know who was the first Eagle Scout and what date did he receive his Eagle Scout on? I'm waiting. Google.
I do Google it.
I'll give it about another 60 seconds, if that.
I'm so kidding you.
Arthur Eldridge. You got it. What year?
You're super fast, Tom.
It was August 1912. August 21st of 1912. Funny story is, as I researched this, and I'm a scouting history buff, and I think it's real important to understand where we came from. There's a lot of really neat things that all came together at once to form the Boy Scouts of America. When Arthur Eldridge earned the Eagle Award, didn't have a local board review. He was actually reviewed by the bits and pieces of the people who actually formed Scouting. Dan Beard, James West, Longfellow, and by some accounts, even Seton himself. The word that he chose was grill him to see if he'd actually gone through everything. He earned it and received a letter from West on August 21st, informing him of that. But he didn't actually get his Eagle badge until Labor Day, the following Labor Day, because the dies for the badge hadn't been made yet. So take the time and learn a little bit about Scouting history. It's kind of fun. It's good to know where we came from. All right. Agenda and then the feedback form. Everybody, just a reminder, please fill these out, the good, the bad, what you'd like to see in the future. This helps me be able to provide better and get the things that you would like to have. So I don't know where Kari went.
We separated.
Yeah.
Still playing with toys.
Is he really? Great.
Josh, one thing I guess we'll have time to do is,
Yes.
I guess I would like to see some discussion about the change of Cub Scouts.
We actually have that on with Scott Darbo, my counterpart. He's at his daughter's school program right now. He might be here a little later. We actually sat down here this last month and we put together a calendar. We stopped in August of 15. We have enough to finish it, but we were trying to get at least 6 months out and trying to find where does that best fit in. And so everybody's aware, next month we're doing what we call the fireside chat. And that's an opportunity. We're going to have representatives from district council, training chairs. We're going to have, all these people here for you to have an opportunity to give feedback to talk about, what you like, what you don't like, ask those questions. And then that is actually on the agenda, and I can't even talk about it yet because all the stuff's not even out yet.
Yeah.
So that is on the plan. That's already on the schedule. So, and that's a very good question, very good point, because there are some pretty good changes coming on. Anything else while we're waiting for Kari again?
She would still love to have a user surpass that were to participate in public protests before those still be advertising. We would love to have more users for that.
Anybody feels the urge? Be a good reason, good publicity for Scouts. Okay. With that, I have a whole bunch of handouts. Oh, it's all good stuff though. Last month we talked about Webelos to Scout transition. Yeah. Webelos to Scout transition. And we talked about, whose responsibilities the different contacts were, setting up schedules. When do you start to do these things? And there was a lot of discussion, a lot of questions. Last month was kind of a survey, a little bit, and what we did is I went through and looked through about half a dozen different resources, and the best one was actually on scouting.org, and it's this plan. And if you turn to your first page, I don't want to read this word for word and insult your intelligence, but I do want to hit on a couple of things. The first thing that I really found was interesting is Webelos to Scout transition. If you look at their timetable, you notice there's 12 months on this timetable. It's not, it starts in December and wraps up about middle of February. It goes all year round. So this transition process, it's an ongoing collaboration between the packs and the troops. And just becoming familiar, I think that a lot of units, their focus is so hard on what their advancement programs are, what their outdoor activities are. Troops, I think sometimes forget that, especially those boys, they're busy doing their thing. They forget that they're role models, and every time they walk by a kid in a blue uniform, that kid's just watching every movement they make and wanting to be one of the older boys, wanting to be a Boy Scout. And so, even when they're not recruiting or making that impression, they're making that impression and they're recruiting, for good or for bad. So, like I said, take the time and read through this. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the different positions and the responsibilities they have. Right now, if you turn to page 76, which is page 2, I guess, talks about the District Webelos Transition Chair, which right now is vacant in our district. It talks about the different things that they do. And they serve basically as a liaison between the packs, the troops, and they're making sure, they're kind of prompting, kind of prodding to get the people in contact with each other that need to be in contact with each other. Asking the questions, have you done this? Have you done that? Asking the scoutmasters, has your troop been in contact with these boys? Gives them some ideas on what to look for when they visit troops. Gives troops ideas as to what to do when Webelos come to visit. They also do some reporting to the council and to the district as far as how many Webelos are going to cross over, how many scout troops have they visited, who's been in contact with who, just some accountability type things. I know we've had people in this position in the past, but right now it's vacant, and if somebody feels like taking on a challenge, I'm sure that we would love to have you in that capacity. So, next one, some of the questions we'd have is whose responsibility is it to contact? I'm not going to go through this page per page, I promise, because we don't have time for that. But whose responsibility is it to contact the packs? And we had answers both ways last month. It's the pack's responsibility to contact the troop. It's the troop's responsibility to contact the pack. It's kind of both. But that goes back to that 12-month calendar, that constant planning that is going on, that constant communication all year round. There's different activities, there's different ways, but there's always some communication that should be taking place between troops and packs. Den chiefs was a thing that came up last month. How many of our packs here have den chiefs? Kinda have them, but they don't participate. Sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. What type of influence do you see from these guys when they're there?
Oh, they interact with kids good. The Cub Scouts good and stuff, and they always, how kids are out that age, they always kind of tend to. It's just the adult talking, but when it's an older scout or somebody that they think, oh, they don't uniform and stuff.
Last time our pack had a den chief was pulled up on Helen Kramer with.
His name wasn't Matt, was it?
Oh, that was.
It was my son, Matt Sykes.
Yeah, and that's the last time we've had den chief.
Yeah, and you know that was for my son, very rewarding experience for him. He would come home and talk about. I mean, I would almost get the play-by-play. It's like you've been telling me about this for 2 hours. The meeting was 30 minutes. How'd that work? So that's good though. He was excited. He learned a lot from that experience. But I will tell you, I think every boy in that den transferred to our troop. And it wasn't because I did some great job recruiting. It's because my Boy Scout made a difference in those Cub Scouts world, and they wanted to be where he was. And those of you who know Matt, I mean, he's kind of goofy, and he likes to laugh a little too much probably, but he had a very positive experience. The kids had a very positive experience, and my son learned a lot from that. So, overnight activities. I know, you know, we have some different organized Cub Scout, Boy Scout overnighters, but how many of your units actually invite Cub Scouts to go with? This open invitation to Camp House, but not the long-term high-end Camp House, but the shorter weekend Camp House. Do you guys have a program where you're in constant contact with them to do that? Yeah. That can be a powerful tool. Not even if they don't always go, or maybe if it's something close by, the Cub Scouts can come out for a day. That's a good influence. But just the fact that you're in contact with them and you're inviting them to go be a part of your troop, even if they don't get to participate, they remember that. Especially if it's a heartfelt, we really want you to be there.
That was part of the idea of the multi-pack camp out. Getting associated with certain groups and stuff like that, to see what the groups are doing. So it's important, even though it is multi-pack camp out, it's important that, you know, groups to get invited, try to make those two, because that's kind of part of their routine for the
How many times have you had Cub Scouts or Relo Scouts attend your troop outdoor activities that ended up not being a very positive recruiting tool? That happens to me once. And I had some boys that I felt were pretty prepared, and it didn't go anything like what I wanted. And I had some unimpressed parents, and you know those things happen too. So when you're planning those kinds of activities, it's very important. You know, have the boys prepared. The whole Be Prepared thing. And you need to know what's going to happen while they're there. So that's the trick about that. It's the troop's responsibility, according to scouting.org, to arrange for Rebelow dads to visit troop meetings. It should be planned several weeks in advance. So, as far as Boy Scout leaders, how many of you actually actively seek out the dens and invite them to come? You don't sit back and wait for the call that, hey, we want to visit your troop. I mean, how many of you actually are out there being proactive and inviting and saying you need to come to a meeting? This would be a good meeting to come to type of activity.
As far as we've looked in, we've had pretty good access to the scouts. You know, saying, hey, we got this going on, come out and maybe spend a day or something. So it's good.
This is very important. One of the responsibilities, and we're talking about troop responsibilities and Webelos to Scout transition. One of the troops' responsibilities is the Scoutmaster's responsibility to make himself accessible, to perform a Scoutmaster conference with the Webelo Scout so that they can earn their Arrow of Life. And that's something that is definitely the troop's responsibility. It's a good time to do that too when the kids are visiting, or if you're visiting their then meeting. And then, and like I said, I don't want to hit every one of these. I printed it off so you can take it home and read it. But one of the other key things is to plan a good crossover ceremony. Work with the Cub Master so that it fits with their blue and gold or whatever activity function that they're having this at. But it's amazing what a good crossover ceremony, that impact, that memory that can leave with a younger Wolf Scout. You'll sit there and watch that happen. And sometimes that crossover ceremony, up until those kids get to be Webelos, first year Webelos in that area, that's the only exposure they get to Boy Scouts is at that crossover ceremony. So, NOA. Yep. There's definitely a good opportunity for the Order of the Arrow to participate with crossover ceremonies. If you really want to impress a lot of people, have an OA crossover ceremony with the full regalia. That leaves a lasting memory.
We did it last year. It was awesome.
Very good. One more I wanted to hit on. We talked about a little bit last month, but it's really important if you want to the boys to feel, the scouts to feel like your troop is organized. If you want the boys to know what's going on so they know when they would like to come visit, and if you want to actually be able to provide them with a long-term plan, have your annual calendar of events. It doesn't have to be the play-by-play, but it could be the one-page, 12-month, here's the basic 14 activities we're doing on a page that you can hand to them so they can get excited about being in your unit when they come visit because they want to go do those things. All right, pack activity. Or pack. What, did I skip one? No, I know. I thought I had the pack next. Maybe I did two pages back. Unit commissioner responsibilities. Everybody heard of the term feeder pack? What's a feeder pack? Why is that? Okay, let's look at First United Methodist Church. First United Methodist Church actually charters 3 scouting organizations. Pack 28, Troop 136, and Crew 73. Not to call it a food chain, but it's just a progression. And as a scoutmaster, Sean, of 136, do you just assume that all the 28ers are coming right up to 136?
Not necessarily.
Why? They have a choice. It's true. But does that may change your recruiting tactics with them?
You could be a little less proactive about
Mm-hmm. I can see why. There's an assumption there. Now, smaller communities where there's a pack, a troop, probably not a crew. You're probably going to get them, but what ends up happening is the kids, okay, and this is one of the reasons I think that some of these changes are happening inside of the Cub Scout program, but by the time they get through first year Webelos and they're working on second year Webelos, they're getting kind of bored.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a lot of the same things over again, and they're thinking, oh, more scouts? You got to wow them. You got to make them want to be part of it. I think that's why it's so important to involve your second year Webelos with your troop as much as you can to get them excited about being a Boy Scout. Let them see that there's more beyond that. That's why the calendar is important. But the unit commissioner's responsibilities is he's kind of that fire starter. He's the one that can create that bond and kind of get the communications rolling between the packs and the troops and crew if you want to look at continued transition. He can help plan. He can help communicate, make contacts between the different unit leaders. He can help make sure that paperwork is being taken care of. I mean, a lot of things that the unit commissioner can do. How many of you know who your unit commissioner is? How many of your unit commissioners go to your unit meetings? You know, that's a good point right now. We are missing some. But we have people that are trying to fill. I know Val's been trying really hard to help fill in where he can. And we are.
I know our PAC has had like 6 years since I've been part of it, so. But
Who was your last unit commissioner, remember?
I've never had him since we've been part of the PAC. I don't know if you guys remember when any further back here, like a couple years ago. So, anyway, that's kind of point too, is that we have.
I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Ken, you're unit commissioner. What do you see? What do you feel your role is in that We Below to Scout transition? Where do you see yourself fitting in?
Decided to encouragement, we would like to see an adult play the part of the We Below Scout transition. That's the goal, but we have as many of them as we have commissioners.
Right.
We have three.
Yeah. I didn't realize you had one. No wonder you kind of gave me a little deer in the headlight look. Okay. Well, if you don't know who your unit commissioner is, or if you don't have one, I would encourage you to call the district commissioner, Val. He would typically be here, but he also has a grandchild with the school program, so a lot of school programs on it.
The units may be the best resource for recruiting commissioners because of the scout master. Adults go out as they'll have a deal for the scout program. They may act as a commissioner.
Right.
So the unit might have more luck getting their own commission.
We would appreciate any help that you could give us helping to find commissioners too. It's pretty rewarding. I've enjoyed this portion or this side of being a Roundtable commissioner. At any rate, PAC responsibilities. Again, you're talking about communication. Whose responsibility is it to do what? Not only does the troop have a responsibility to be working with and contacting the PAC has a responsibility to be reaching out and communicating with the troops, preparing calendars, helping arrange the things that they need for unit advance or for rank advancements. While the troops are inviting the Webelos to come up for visits, the Webelos, and should start younger than that, Dens, Bears, first year, Wolves, whatever, they should be reaching out to troops and inviting them to come to things too. So that there's just that, like I said, it's a shame, but probably even a lot of Bear Scouts, their only exposure to a Boy Scout is a crossover ceremony. And I think that if you look at the percentage of boys that are dropping out because they feel they're getting bored and they don't know what's coming up, what a better way to eliminate that problem than to start interacting more, especially at a younger age. To help plan meaningful ceremonies and crossovers. And the crossovers, typically in our area, the troop plans the crossover. That's their responsibility, but they still should be working with the Cubmaster. You don't want to have two similar ceremonies for Arrow of Light and then a crossover because there are some ceremonies that are very much alike. And then if your troop doesn't exist in your community, which we have some people from outside of Kearney that they didn't have a troop, they reached out to a unit that was close by that they could travel to, or there's another option. I'm not real familiar with it, but the Lone Scout program. So, at any rate, or start your own unit. Or start your own unit, because that's very rewarding and not busy at work at all. There's a Webelos Scout tracking form. And then there's some sample transition ceremonies. I do have one more handout on this, and I think that you got it. Scott hands these out. What drew my eye, this is actually comes from a letter that is handed out or emailed out to leaders as far as helping plan different aspects and opinion. It's the Advancement News, October 2014 Advancement News. And this is a email that you can sign up to get from Scouts, from the BSA. And the first sentence really, really hits it. A boy's transition from a Cub Scout pack to a Boy Scout troop should begin the day he first puts on his blue uniform and continue to the day he crosses over the bridge into a Scout troop. So, as we look at our Webelos to Scout transition numbers declining, at a national level, what was it, 30%?
We got that problem.
Was that the number we talked about? I don't know, but that's awful. But the drop off was horrendous. And Kearney, I think we're a little bit above that. I don't think we're too far from the national average council-wide though. So very important. I know that there was a lot of questions, a lot of different varying opinions, and so I went straight to scouting. As I read through this, it answered about everything that we were talking about last month. So, any comments, questions before we go on?
That thing that Josh just handed out to you, it's available if you'd like to get a copy of. I'm going to just pass around. I just printed out 2 copies. This is the whole advancement newsletter. And if you'd like to be subscribed to that, anyone can. You just need to send an email to that email address with your unit name and your email address, and then they will automatically send you out the newsletters every month. So I'll pass around the last 2 months if you want to take a look at it. So I've got a lot of